I just echo Dave's thoughts. It's great to have PHPBelfast back after 7 years. Thank you very much for Darren for pushing us to get organised and actually organising it. I don't think Tim and I, who normally organise these things, didn't really have to do anything this time, so which is great. So thank you very much, Darren. And pizza on plates.
Yeah. On boxes.
Yeah, it's very posh. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Laravel Herd. That's the sort of one-line marketing brief, one-click PHP development environment, zero dependencies, zero headaches. I'm not sure about that last word, but we'll get to that. I was messing up with transitions. I hope that's not on every slide because it's not good. So a wee bit about me. I'm a senior engineer for eVouchers. I've been writing PHP since 1999. PHP 3, and I think a bit of PHP 2, FI back in Titus, very early days. I actually have some lines of code in PHP code base from then, but I'm sure they're not there anymore.
Sure.
Laravel, Symphony, custom frameworks we've worked on. I've been the co-founder of PHPBelfast. I've previously been Rapid 7, Golf Now, 31 Interactive, Simply SD, Titus. I was then a PHP 5 certified engineer, which means absolutely nothing now. I always have to put it in, sounds good. I've been team lead and engineer manager, and I was in Rapid 7. I was a senior engineer manager. I was doing really well, but really I missed the code. I missed writing code. That's what I'm good at. Presentations, not so good at. You can see that. And presentations and spreadsheets was really what I ended up doing as an engineering manager. So I always say that to people who are currently moving up and hoping they're going to move forward. Depending on the company you're in, being an engineering manager, unfortunately, you're going to remove the word engineering. You're going to just be a manager. So depending on where you work, that's just how things work out. But I love writing code, and that's where I am where I am. And eVouchers is a fantastic company. They're super modern code base, everything's Laravel. Eddie, my boss, is talking next. I can't believe my boss is half my age, but he's a genius, so that's all acceptable. So anyway, moving forward. How many of these transitions have I got? So the first paragraph from the website, Herd is a blazing fast native Laravel PHP development environment for MacOS. Provides everything you need to get started with Laravel development. Ships a PHP, Nginx, DNS mask, and Node.js. So the first thing, whenever you start a new company or you want to start a new project, or you want to pull down a Git repo and try it out, you need a PHP environment to start with. And it's quite difficult to set that up if you don't know what you're doing. You need, you've got those things. You've got Nginx, what is that? You've got PHP, how do you start PHP up? And there are things like there are Docker containers. If you're lucky enough to start a company that has a Docker setup, you just spin up quickly, go Vagrant, or God forbid, or God knows what else people have set up. But you normally spend your first couple of days in a company or your first couple of days in a project just getting the environment working, so you can actually do your job and start programming. And Herd aims to be a bit of a solution to that. And it is definitely not just for Laravel. It is unfortunately only for macOS, but it is definitely not just for Laravel. I think it was developed in conjunction with Laravel. Hence the ended up with that name. Taylor Rockwell promoted it, but it is definitely not a Laravel only product. So why do we need it? As I said, DOI environments are tricky. Docker can be slow, running locally for dev, as I don't know if anybody's noticed this. If you're deving in Docker versus running natively on the Mac, certainly Docker's slow. The file sharing is slow, even if they're constantly working when they do file mounting and all that sort of stuff. The Docker's still slow. And you'll notice how slow Docker is when you run Herd. It supports many sites. So one of the biggest issues is you can pull up your website with Docker and it's maybe running on port 80. But if you want to run another website or another service that it interacts with, then you start dealing with, well, this Docker containers are on this port, this one's on this port. Well, okay, you need to put a proxy in place. It starts to get very messy very quickly. And supports many frameworks. So what if you've got Laravel on one of your projects, you've got WordPress somewhere else, you've got Symphony somewhere else, and you want to just have them all talking to each other? How do you do that locally? Those are very different setups. There might often be different PHP versions, so you might be running one legacy service. Getting all that stuff set up is really complicated, and Herd, believe it or not, solves all that. It's free. I added mostly there because about 2 weeks ago, after I agreed to do this talk, Herd released a Herd Pro. They very kindly, I reached out to them and they very kindly gave me a code, so I'm able to talk about the features in Herd Pro, and you can make up your mind what you feel it's worth. your money or not.
So you have it for free now?
I have it for free now, basically. I'm entitled to it, so yeah, there you go. And it's fast, it's very fast, I'll talk about why in a minute. So what does it do? It's a native Mac app. It wraps Laravel Valley. So if you haven't used Laravel Valley, it actually solves all these problems too. It has some slight issues in that it gets all its versions of PHP and it gets all its stuff from Brew, which I hate Brew. We'll talk about it later. But Valley uses command line. It can feel a bit daunting when you go to use it, just getting it up and running, installing it. And then when it starts to pull down stuff from Brew, it's downloading and compiling and taking ages. But this has all the features of Valley. It actually wraps Valley sort of within itself, and it adds more stuff on top. It installs PHP as static binaries with all the extensions you need. So rather than with Brew or with some other PHP application, you download PHP and then you add all these extensions, all the drivers, all that sort of stuff. And loads of other stuff. So go and have a look at the website if you're unsure at first. But it does seem too good to be true, and it is pretty good. I think it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. One thing I mentioned there is no database server. It doesn't come with it installed any sort of databases. I would suggest combining this with DB Engine, which is has anybody heard of Table Plus?
Yeah.
So Table Plus have a DB Engine product, which basically does this stuff for databases. So you can install multiple instances of MySQL, Postgres, Redis with a nice little toolbar application. So wait, Laravel does all this. Yeah, but we heard we get a nice UI. We get up and running far faster because we don't have to wait for Brew to download and compile stuff. We've static binaries for speed, so currently it's like a 35% increase. I haven't tested that, but that's the marketing learn. Automatic updates to your versions of PHP and to Herd itself. We're avoiding the command line. This is daunting for a lot of people. And we're avoiding Brew, most importantly. That's a me thing. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Brew. I better mention that.
Talk about Sony, Andy, as well. Your Sony prejudice.
So, and the next question, well, we don't use Laravel. But it supports many frameworks and CMS out of the box. So all those CMSs are automatically supported. So if you stick your site that is using one of those frameworks or CMSs in the folder, within that folder that I talked about, and I'll show you that to make it make more sense, it automatically supported. It'll detect what it is, and it'll go to the right file. So when you go to browse to bedrock.test or whatever that you call the folder, it'll know which index.php or path.dev.php or whatever to look at. Brilliant, very clever. If your framework isn't supported, you can write one of these drivers really quickly. I'm going to show you that. I don't know how many of you remember the PHPBelfast framework, but I've resurrected it for the very so yeah, it's pretty good. Herd Pro. I'll show you these things, but so what does Pro give us? Pro gives us Xdebug, and it's actually quite easy to integrate Xdebug. 2 days before I gave a talk in my current company on how to use Xdebug with Herd, they released this book. And you can use it for free. The mail capture, many people are already using things like MailTrap or MailPit or MailHog, whatever it is. There, give you one. It's pretty basic. I'll show it later. I'll just show some things that are already in it. Logs, which is a log viewer. I don't know why that's better than the terminal or the editor, but whatever. Dumps, which is interesting. So in Laravel, you would do DB and dump if you're used to that form of debugging. And it catches them so they don't break the page. It sticks them on in the interface so you can go and look at them. And it's fairly handy because it keeps them there. So you can go and look back at them after the request, after you're doing something else, and see just to try not to debug. But I can tell you, if you're using Xdebug, why are you using DB? So my question is, with Herd, it's $99, Herd Pro, do you need it? I don't think so, personally, but it's entirely up to you. If you're not comfortable understanding how Xdebug integration works, there's documentation. It's very, very simple. Or you're not comfortable spinning up your own mail thing and maybe a wee Docker container or something, or absolutely. Laravel Pro. I think the thing with Herd is that it does get regular updates. So Pro at the minute is fresh and new. It'll only get better. So even though the guy's technically sponsored this by giving me a license, I'm not going to say it's amazing, but if you stick with it, it might get better. So I'm going to do a quick demo. It's a bit that I'm unprepared for. So you see Herd sits up here. If I open up settings, you can see at the minute I've no sites, right? I've taken away all my existing folders. This is how easy it is to work with. Edit's having a fit because he's like, where's all your work? But it's very easy to add stuff in. So I'm going to add a folder here that I pre-prepared in true computer style called PHPBelfast, which is just in my user folder, PHPBelfast. I'm just going to add that to the list of sites. To the list of folders, sorry, Herd paths as it's called. I'm going to go to sites, and it's going to refresh, and now suddenly it's showing me all these sites that I have. And I've already done this in the past, so hence I have to find this one as PHP 7.4 just by selecting. I have to find this one as 8.3, and you see I've named them sort of in a way that can everyone read those?
Yeah.
In a way that you can maybe see what's in them, and I haven't done anything fancy. That's literally what I've done, is I've created a base install of each of those things. Symfony, V3, WordPress, Laravel, and the PHPBelfast framework, and I've just got them into folders. So if I open a browser, this is the proof of the pudding here, and I go to, what was it, WordPress.test? This should be basic WordPress for WordPress. If I go to Laravel.test, you always have to remember to do HTTP, because if you don't, for some reason, it goes searching on the internet for your. Most things just work. And if I go to, I think Symfony 3, I dumped out the version of PHP we were using, because I changed it. Oh, no, there you go, example. Yeah, because there's the version, I just dumped it out in the template very quickly. That's using PHP 7.4, the other ones are, as you can see, they're using what they're using. So what else can we do in here? Well, it's going to be padlock here, secure this site, all right, that's interesting, let's have a look at that. So let's secure Laravel.test. I haven't tested this actually. So that has gone and added an SSL certificate. It asked me for authentication with my finger there to add that to the trusted certificates. I can go to HTTPS, Laravel.test. And now we've got a valid certificate, or one that's accepted by the computer. And you can work with any certificates. Gives you a more familiar environment, so you know you're working in a bit more of a similar way to how you would be in production. Well, so what are these other wee icons then? So this one here, that one just opens it in a browser. This one is Tinker, so as every other Laravel Tinker. So Laravel Tinker gives you like a command prompt into the application. It opens your terminal, opens just straight into Tinker, so you can start to interact with the terminal. Well, I don't know, someone give you a command to run in Laravel with nothing in it. I don't know, is there any?
DD.
I don't know, can you read? Oh, I don't know. You know, you're in there, right? You can tell.
1 + 2.
Ooh, that's just PHP though. Okay, so that's great. And this one just lets you, hovering over to see here, what else? I don't know, actually no easy segment. That just opens it in the ID, that's fine. So that's pretty cool. We've also got PHPBelfast.test, and I'm actually going to open that. Actually, before we do that, I'm just going to run through these other tabs in here. So PHP, so these are the versions of PHP you've got installed. I have them all installed. By default, I think it just installs 8.2. They might change that to 8.3, and then you can add the elements later. They get updated, you get a wee alert, and you can just click a button and it updates. This does. And then that's upload file size. Gives you those couple of PHP any settings. So the most common things that people need to change. Node, similar thing, you can install different versions. Doesn't support every version, much like PHP. It's only installing really supported versions or recently not supported versions. We have Expose, which, so the company behind this, Beyond Code, have a product called Expose, which is like ngrok. This also supports ngrok because Valley supports ngrok. So if you go to the command line and you type, oh my God, I can't remember the command line, but you can tell it to use ngrok. But then if you're in this folder and you do learn sharing it with ngrok, that's all you need to do. no complicated commands. You do have to set up a token to create an account on Ngrok, it's free. And you put the root token in there. If you have Expose installed, that would Herd share will use Expose. Mails, this is one of the new ones. The new ones are mail, dumps, and debugger. And all you really do in there is that you can set the mail server port. So in your application, you tell it to use that for SMTP sending, and then they go into, if I click here, mail, they go in here, and you can, it's very simple. You see the HTML email, you see some headers. I think if you have lots of sites set up using this, that then ends up filtering by site. Oh, can you see that? That's actually off the, what is that weird number?
It's for like sharing stuff on the screen.
Yeah, I don't think you can get rid of it. So yeah, in here you've got different mailboxes, and that just associates them with different sites. If there's only one, which there is so far, it just ends up at default. But so that's pretty handy. That's done, and all you do then is configure your application to send its email via port 2525 on your machine. You've dumps, which I mentioned before, so you're going to see some stuff for me testing. So I just did a die dump, where I probably just a dump command on that Laravel site with $_request or something, and it shows you the stuff there, all the stuff I've done. Quite useful. You can expand and contract them. It's quite cool. These are the pro things, and then the last one is logs, which that's useful. There should be some logs, and it's only I didn't have any logs. But it literally shows the Laravel log file. That's a Laravel specific feature. I think it shows the Laravel log file and it links to the different files, so you can click through them in the stack trace. So it's pretty smart debugger. You can turn it off and on. It claims to automatically detect when you put a breakpoint with PHP Storm. I will say that is not true. But it does work if you have the little xdebug plugin. I'm not going to, well, I'll just embarrass myself. Let's open that, which one was it, Laravel. Let's just go to our
Just yourself.
index.html, index.php, yeah. Keep it super simple. So I put a breakpoint in there. I've told my browser I want to use xdebug, so in theory, see, it doesn't work. And that's a problem I've had with xdebug implementation. I've had it manually set up, and I'm working absolutely fine. And this is flaky. It's been working, and it's not been working. It's been working, and it's not been working. And I don't know what the cause is, and I actually I was getting working on a product, and I thought I'd broken something. I was getting this weird 502 error, and I was like, I've really fucked up here because I can't get the problem. And it turned out I went and looked at the console log on the Mac to find the error, and the error was that the PHP binary was crashing due to the FPM extension that they've included with Herd Pro. So Herd Pro's early days, it's literally just 2 weeks. And that was only one place. I didn't get it to happen anywhere else. But yeah. So again, it's up to you whether you want to pay for it right now. I think it'll be good because I think the people who developed it are really talented. They've got some great tools, and that'll be a really handy way just to get everything in. So anyway, what I wanted to show was the other thing is in your application. What folder is this in? This is users, username, library, application support Herd. You'll find all your config. So if you want to go in and add some custom PHP config to like a php.ini, you can go and do that. That's where I have my own version of xdebug installed. You can see your certs there. You can see how everything's hung together. There's your Nginx hosts. You can kind of get a wee peek behind the curtain on how this all hangs together. If you look at then, you've got a herd.far file, which is actually pretty much Valet with a couple of minor changes. So you can do some clever stuff. So if I open up the PHPBelfast framework, I want to show how PHPBelfast is not a known framework. It's not something that this application is ever going to auto-expect. It was never used beyond the one talk I gave where I So you can see actually highlighted it on the file names how much stuff I had to change because it was so old. Lots of stuff didn't even work. I wanted to get it working as an example of how this can support custom frameworks. So this was the sort of setup of PHPBelfast. But what I've done is I've said, well, you know what, let's put the index file in PHPB. It's a folder no one uses. It's not public, it's not web, it's not anything else. So that's whenever requests come in, that's where it's going to hit. We have an HT access file, remember those? That was all it did. But this, you know, if I go to PHPBelfast.test, works. What? And I added a driver for this in about 15 minutes based on the documentation. And I'll show you how to do that. So if you go into Herd, it's a wee bit wrangly because this wraps Valet. In Valet, you would maybe have this in a more sensible place, but in here, I'm not going to be able to find this. Where is it? In here, there's a Valet drivers folder, and this is automatically included. Anything you put in here will automatically be added as a driver, and we'll run through these driver files provided you obviously extend this interface. Extend this abstraction, excuse me. And there's a few simple methods that you have. So serves is going to return a boolean as to whether or not you're going to serve this. So you check. This is how all the existing drivers work. I can show you a couple of those. You can check for a specific file. It will identify this driver and tell it to use this driver. And I'm saying, well, if there's a PHPB folder and an index.php, what else could it be? And you say, well, before loading, so this is like saying, what do you want to do? What do you want to load? What file do you want to just, how do I describe this? So this is just some changes you might want to make to the site path and the site name, or any other variables to make your framework work. So PHPBelfast used the script name to determine what folder it was in. A lot more modern frameworks don't. They use like their server variables. So we want the system to know that it's in the root of the site going to index.php. So just overriding that. You'll see if I show you one of the ones that will maybe make more sense. Front controller path then is you're telling it, well, where do you want the request to go? So how this actually all hangs together. Valet is the same, and Herd, if you don't know, it actually passes everything through like a PHP file, which works out what driver to use, what to do, and then just loads in the necessary files. So if we go to, I look for other drivers like Symfony driver, I'm not able to find this now. Symfony Valet driver, there's a Symfony one. So there you can see this fleshed out for our real framework. Serves, so these are all the things whenever you put something in a folder, it's going to run through all this and see if it's true, see if it wants to use this driver. It's going to check, do any of these files exist? Those are all, that's what's crazy about Symfony, that's in many different places. The index.php it's been up there, app, index, all sorts of stuff. It's just checking to make sure, is this definitely Symfony? And then it's checking for static files too, so it might not want to use PHP, it might want to just redirect the person to the file. So it's looking for static file paths, and then your front controller path again is it's working out where to send your request. So it's pretty easy to write a driver. So if you were doing this for your own custom framework or something else, those three methods are gonna cover you. So it's pretty quick. So I found this, I was always a Docker user. Dave will tell you I wrote quite an elaborate Docker setup for GovNow. And I'm a big fan of Docker, but when I joined vVouchers, I actually started building the application and running it in Docker, but then I noticed everyone else's machine was so much faster than mine. What's going on? Mine's even newer. And I tried Herd, and Herd literally just worked like that. I didn't have to do anything, and the application just ran. Config, and I was like, this is a bit of a no-brainer. So I would 100% recommend everyone give it a go. It's completely free. Don't bother with the Pro for now. Just run your application on it and see how cool it is. Yeah. So, about any other slides? Let me see. Where is Keynote? Yeah, so that's really all I have. Does anyone have any questions about it, or anyone else that want to see before or what anyone else explain?
I guess one of the only things would be Dockers can be at times very resource heavy and intense. How does it compare to Herd? Not even noticeable, or can
Oh no, it's massively noticeable. I mean, your Docker container on the Mac, the Docker's running in a VM, and all its access to files is done through like a software driver. So it's reading and writing all its files. And if you're doing debugging or you're doing using any sort of application of writing over the files and reading over stuff even from the database, that's slower in Docker, especially on the Mac. If you're on Linux, this probably isn't a thing. But on the Mac, Docker's definitely slower. And it's the difference between the page doing in 1 second or half a second. It doesn't sound like a lot. Whenever you're in dev mode and you're trying to get something done and you're refreshing and you're jumping it out, that's a massive difference. Just in how fast it feeds like you move. Anyone else?
Why the animosity towards Brew?
That's a really good question.
Brew, it's probably fine. About 10 years ago, well maybe not even 10, well it could be 10 years ago, but it fucked me over. I've been using MacOS for a long time. Brew fucked me over. Excuse my language, for the way.
This is a sensitive area
for this. Brew messed up my machine to the point where I had to just reinstall it because I couldn't get rid of the stuff. There were services running and the files were gone associated with it. I'm like, why is this even there? And I just couldn't work it out. It had overwritten stuff. And I got to the point where I was like, fuck this, and just reinstall it. And never again am I going to. And I've had to use Brew for a few key things recently due to where I work. But they're not, thankfully, on Blue Page.
And did you think you get your Laravel Herd Pro license cancelled after this video goes online?
Yeah. I'm wondering actually what will happen there. Sure. No, it is genuinely a really fast way to get up and running, and Pro will improve. Those guys are, I'm not backtracking on it, is flaky at the minute, I'll be completely honest with that. And if you know what you're doing, you can get actually good work with it, okay. But yeah, it is a great product, and I 100% recommend everyone give it a go if you're not already using it. Yeah.
Any recommendations for the Windows plebs?
I do not. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. You know, Laravel Herd is not. Is Valet? It's not Windows because they use a Brew. No, I do not know. Does anyone have any recommendations for Windows development environment? Zamp and WAMP was a thing.
Man Pro is still a thing.
Is that still a thing?
I've used Laragon, which is better than WAMP stuff.
I've been very lucky to have Macs for quite a while at this point. And I do. It is great. But
Symphony server? Just run that from command line. It's based on Go.
No.
Probably would.
Symphony server?
That's something we didn't discuss after.
Very low. It's basically just a built-in PHP server, but run through Go.
Laravel has the same serve, but because you're running multiple sites, it's actually easier with Herd. You just kind of switch between them.
Yeah.
So nothing can be having an API running between, so we need to run 2 sites at the same time.
Yeah. This is where it's great, and actually it would have been great had it existed when I was at Gulf Time. This product's only out since June.
Yeah.
July last year. It was launched, so it is very early days. And it's great so far. The Pro thing will get better, I can be sure of it. And you know what? If it does, I'll be sure I'll keep an eye on it. I'll let you know.
Andy, it's using DNS mask for the test TLD. Is there any way of customizing that? Say you had, like a database that was running for your project, having it accessible at, db.something.test rather than go through a port.
Well, I assume DNS mask is just going to point everything at 127.0.0.1.
Yeah.
So
You need reverse proxy then.
Yeah, if you just go to blah.test, it'll point at 0.0.1.
Yeah.
So you go to blah.test port 3306, you're going to get that. I will say there is a, the command line. Oh, that's not a good example. There's a lot of stuff. So if I go to Herd PHP, it'll tell me the version of PHP for this folder. Oh, Herd PHP -b. So there's a whole CLI interface, and it is based on Valet. And you can do a lot of stuff. So you can set what version of PHP it's using. You can set what version. You can do all the stuff you can do in the UI. You can do it in the console. it's a great product. And it is, I'd say it is based on Valley, and Valley is the core of it, but this has just made it that wee bit slicker, faster, more accessible. Okay.
Can you mess with the Nginx configs, like add your own stuff into it?
You can, so the Nginx config only sort of appears whenever you have an SSL cert, I notice, because it uses a default before then. You can mess with, if we go to, where am I here? If we go in here, you can mess with the fast API times. I've added this, because by default it's 30 seconds. If you're actually debugging, 30 seconds is not enough, so that's just a wee timeout. And there are these, this one isn't used because this is where I initially added the timeout, it just didn't happen. So I think this is the, yeah, I think you can mess about and try and get what you wanted working. Stuff's in there. You know, if I go in here to Nginx, there's the one for PHPBelfast.test. You know, you could go and edit that. It's not going anywhere. If you were to delete the folder and recreate it, it may create you a fresh one and I lose that. But when it's there, you can play with it. You can add it to your repo just to keep it there and then copy and paste it in place. So the answer is kind of. Anything else? Okay, well thank you very much. Thanks for listening.